Welcome back, boys and girls. We are at number 42 of our list of the greatest chess players of all time. And at Sport 42, we have Miguel Najdorf. Miguel Najdorf is born in 1910 in the Kingdom of Poland, which at that time is part of the Russian Empire. He dies in 1997 at age 87 in Malaga, Spain. As is well known, he spends a lot of his life in Argentina. Peter Heine, what are Miguel Najdorf's accomplishments in the chess world?
Well, I think he is sort of a top player in just after the war. I think he's, according to Sonas, the second-ranked players for almost 3 years, between 46 and 49, and he gets a peak rating of 27.97, also according to Sonas. And these are quite impressive figures, and it basically reflects his level. I think the controversy is about the World Championship in 48. Najdorf strongly felt he believed that he should have played it and that he had the right to play it. And it's from what you look at Sonas, he obviously had a point that, Najdorf should have been invited to that tournament. They invite 6 other guys, and even when Fine decides not to play, Najdorf doesn't get the invitation. So he gets a very short change there. When at the peak of his career, he might actually have had a shot at the title.
In 48, it's this Afro tournament, this reunification. How does that work?
Reunification, no. I mean, the world champion again actually had died, so they needed to put in some kind of player there, and the decision is to have I think a quadruple round tournament with 6 players, but it ends up being 5 players instead. But Najdorf said that, I don't think I'm worse. I don't think I have bad records against any of the other players there, and Sonas would very much back up that statement. And
so who decides? Who gets invited there? Do we know?
Don't get me started on complaining about FIDE, but what Najdorf's claim was that it was possibly influenced by Botvinnik. And, there is definitely a phase in history where the Soviet Union has a strong influence in FIDE. So I don't think this has been verified in any particular way. There's also, about the actual 48 tournaments, there's a lot of rumors that to some extent has been debunked that there was a choice that it was Botvinnik who had to win. But, there is a lot of debate there, which has not been sort of historically be verified, especially. But Najdorf was of the impression he really should have played, and also that possibly Botvinnik kept him out of it. And our choice of game very much reflect that. But why would Botvinnik want to keep Najdorf out? This game at least speaks for itself.
All right, let's look at the game in Groningen in Holland in 1946. Miguel Najdorf with the white pieces against Botvinnik. And I was looking at this position, this pawn to c4, because I was surprised, since Botvinnik, I think he won this model game against Capablanca. I just asked you earlier, in this very structure where he crashes through in the center on the king side. But it seemed like he...
Yeah, I very much agree. That puzzles me a bit. You can definitely make a case for this being a better scenario for black because of the queen being stuck on b2 and such. But Najdorf makes it look like it doesn't really matter, right?
Right. Then again, the structure, as we also discussed, Magnus Carlsen went for the same thing against Vishy Anand, so it's not like black and white that it's always bad.
This becomes a particularly nice version for white, right? It looks like a game of a strong player against one who is not that strong, and that obviously Botvinnik was incredibly strong, but he just gets outplayed fair and square here. And this is in the end of 46, as far as we recall, right? So it's, I think the negotiations for who had to get to qualify for this World Championship tournament happens like a year later, right? So, it's not an unreasonable point that Najdorf has, that he, should get a shot.
G4, nice move, not closing the position, but going for opening it up further, and now he just wins material.
Yeah.
Brings home the bacon.
Yeah. But I think also, it's a nice game, but the main point is that it's just a very clean victory where White in this game shows much better chess skills and understanding than the one who actually ends victorious and becomes crowned as the world champion 2 years later. And well, Najdorf didn't get his chance. I mean, it's probably unlikely he would have taken it, but well, we'll never know. And I think he deserved his chance, no doubt, and that's why we have sort of put him in the Hall of Fame, because he had a career that really should have allowed him to fight for the biggest crown, but he was sort of deprived of that chance.
I have to admit I was a little surprised, and once again, not a big student of chess history here, but how strong Najdorf actually was, that he was a number 2 player, that he had games like this against Botvinnik, because I knew things about Najdorf. I knew he was a very strong player representing Poland. Then, of course, in 1939, the war breaks out. He's Jewish. He stays, like I think many others, in Argentina. His whole family gets killed during the Holocaust. So yeah, very, very tough life. And then what I knew about him was that he's this self-made man with, I think people that knew him describe him as incredibly charming in Argentina, who's also, selling life insurances and builds a business empire there from scratch. So I always thought he was more of a hobby chess guy who also had his name on the Najdorf opening, but turns out that's wrong. He was just a very proper top player throughout the 40s and 50s.
I fully agree with you. I had exactly the same point of view. I mean, no, if someone said that Najdorf was a world championship contender, I would say, of course not. But, well, he wasn't. And that's probably also... I mean, you can see these world champion things is driving history in that sense, and simply because he gets deprived for his shot, well, somehow he gets diminished, right? I mean, and no, that's a pity, and no, that's a fun thing about doing this series, that we actually get a different perspective on these kind of things, and also with this kind of historical ratings and such, you can get an idea of how good people actually were. And well, it sounds like Najdorf had first a tragic life, then an interesting and successful life later and such. But chess-wise, he seemed to be a bit shortchanged in that sense. But still, he has a name and maybe the best chess opening ever, right? So
yeah, that's get your names on openings, people. That helps, and also. I think there is this hipster debate who had the best book about Zurich 53, where like the more famous book is Bronstein's, but I've heard this argument by like people that study these things often. No, you know what, Najdorf, his book is actually the best on that topic. So he's done his writing as well.
Well, of course, also when you mention it, Najdorf got his chance later, but, well, you need to get your shot at the title during your somewhat peak, right? Unless you are a complete giant, which he after all wasn't, right? So, I mean, he gets to play these things, but at some point when it's too late.
Yeah, so that's Miguel Najdorf at number 42 in our ranking. I certainly gained a new appreciation for him just looking through his tournament results and his games. Great.